G'day and welcome back to Project 300. A quick video today demonstrating how to open up the centre stack section of the dash, plus the forward area of the console with the gear lever and cup holders. There are plenty of reasons why you might want to access these areas, such as wiring access or communication installs. So long as you do it in the correct order, it's quite an easy procedure to pull it all apart and reassemble afterwards. Let's get started. Irrespective of which sections you need to access, the first parts to be removed are the side trims. No tools are required, just grip the entire side panel and pull it rearwards at a slight angle towards the outside of the car. Then disconnect the wiring plug from the driver's side trim. If you only need to access the forward half of the centre console around the gear lever and not in behind the dash sections, you can skip ahead from here and leave the screen, control panel and DVD modules in place. To continue removing the centre stack, first use a 10mm socket to remove the 4 bolts securing the control panel and the DVD module. Next, pull the control panel directly rearwards to unclip it from the dash. Then release the clip and disconnect the wiring plugs from the rear of the panel and set it aside. If you don't need to remove the screen, you can skip ahead to the lower sections. If you do need to remove the screen, begin by removing the mesh trim on the top of the dash. Protect the edge of the dash and the back of the screen with some tape. Then use a pick and a trim tool to lever up the mesh and remove it from the dash. It's only secured by plastic clips. Disconnect the light sensing wire from the mesh and set it aside. Use a 10mm socket to remove the 2 bolts under the screen. You can then pull the screen directly rearwards to remove it from the dash. Then disconnect the wiring plugs on the back of the screen. To remove the lower sections, you first need to remove the gear lever surround and the forward half of the centre console. Begin by grasping the silver trim at the top of the gear lever boot and pull it directly downwards. Then use a pick or a small screwdriver to remove the small metal pin securing the top. You can then lift the gear knob directly off the lever. Open the centre console storage bin lid. Then remove the entire gear lever surround panel and the forward half of the console by lifting it directly upwards, one side at a time. There are no bolts, it's just secured by plastic clips. The wiring for this is difficult to disconnect, so it's best to just flip it over and leave it sitting beside the console. With the wheels chocked, take the vehicle out of park by pressing the shift lock release beside the gear lever, pressing down on the black top of the gear lever, then moving it into the drive position. Next, grasp the trim section below the DVD module and pull it directly rearwards. There are no bolts securing this section. You can then disconnect the wiring from this section if you want, or just sit it out of the way. The final section to remove, if required, is the DVD module. Use a 10mm socket to remove the remaining 2 bolts on the top of the DVD module, then pull it out directly rearwards. Again, you can remove it completely by disconnecting all the wiring plugs or just sit it out of the way. With all this disassembled, you can install UHF radios, etc. into your preferred locations. Reassembly of the dash is the reverse of the pull apart. If you've removed the top screen, you can refit that first. Reconnect the wiring, clip the screen back into position, then refit the 2 bolts securing the underside of the screen. You can then refit the top mesh trim to the dash by plugging the wiring connector in, then pushing the trim down into place. Next, push the DVD module back into place and then refit the 4 retaining bolts. Ensure that the plugs for the control panel are laying on top of it and haven't been lost behind the unit. You can then reconnect the 2 wiring connectors and reattach the clip to the central control panel. Refit the panel back into the dash by pushing it into place and refitting the 2 retaining bolts. You can then refit the lower panel by pushing it back into place, remembering to reconnect any wiring plugs you disconnected during removal. Next, refit the forward console top. You need to open the storage bin lid first, then lower the forward section into place and push down well to secure all the clips down both sides. Put the gear knob back onto the lever, and refit the metal retaining clip by pushing it back into its slot from the front. Then lift the silver boot trim back up and click it into place. The final steps in reassembly are to refit the two side trims. Guide the passenger trim roughly into position, then push it forwards and inboard to re-engage the mounting clips. For the driver's side, first reconnect the wiring plug, then repeat the procedure, pushing it forwards and in towards the centre to re-engage the clips. I hope you found this video useful. You can find more videos on Land Cruiser 300 maintenance and accessory installs at project300.com.au. See you next time.